Good afternoon. How to beat Kharadron-Overlords as Gloomspy Gitz. Let's get stuck in. But first, of course, thanks to all my patron, Barian for the dice, for the art, and Baron of Dice. Use code MTG to get 5% off your order. That's it. Just save 5%. Okay, so overall strategy. So Kharadron-Overlords, their new book is actually quite strong, as we're kind of learning. So maybe when you check out this video in 2 years, they're reasonable again, but right now they're quite good. So you got to be careful. They're much better in melee than they used to. The boats are quite tanky and make things around them pretty tanky with -1 to hit, which is pretty annoying for destruction players in general. You can, if you can make things obscuring, you should, and you should try to use obscuring. They're not as shooty as they used to be, but they do still pack a punch with some of their shooting units. So use obscuring when you can. Many movement shenanigans. You have to watch your backlines and your flanks. They have lots of teleports. Their units are really fast, right? They have lots of movement shenanigans. So just keep that in mind. You want to charge them. That's kind of the trick, is to get on top of their units so they have a hard time getting away. They will crumble if you can kind of connect with them, but it can be tough. They have mechanics that'll kind of prevent you from charging at them. We'll cover those more in detail, but generally, if you're gonna charge into them, try to charge with multiple units or get really close. If you can't get really close, then maybe repositioning instead of charging is the way to do it. And they have a frigate alpha strike strategy, so you're gonna have to screen. We'll talk about that in more detail coming up. First, special thanks to AOS Will, Lionman, Meese, and Agent Canuck. They were instrumental in helping me understand this book, giving me lots of feedback. So lots of love, you guys. Okay, so some KO battle traits that you need to watch out for. They have an ability called Flying High and Transport Skyfarers. Essentially, and Descend from the Clouds. Essentially what this does is they get to take one of their boats, their Skyvessels, null deploy it in reserve, and they get to put some dudes inside of it, and then they get to deep strike, like anywhere on the map outside of 9 inches. Pretty standard. Yeah. Transport Skyfarers, they get to pick up a unit that's wholly within 6, and depending on how big the boat is, they can take more than one unit and like more and more models. Obviously, bigger boats can take more dwarves. And then the boat gets to move, and then they dump the units out. Only the frigate can dump them out into combat as part of a charge. We'll look at that in more detail. So you just have to use out your backline. This might be the best use for Scuttletide. Scuttletide's best use might be to cast it, throw it in your backline or into a corner, and just have it zone out deep strikes, because it has a move characteristic and it has this nice long base. So if you're struggling with KO, or if you're playing like a more elite army like Trolls, then you should consider casting Scuttletide and just throwing it into the backline. Okay, battle traits. Continued. So they do have a Skyvessel cover, which is a -1 to hit for infantry within range of the boats. So sometimes attacking the boats is just going to be better than attacking the units around it, right? Being a destruction army, we hate -1 to hit. It's brutal. So all out defense is going to be a good choice. For battle formations, they have some that are actually pretty good. So they have one that's like a 6-up ward. They have one that gives an extra artifact of power. They have another one which is like makes their dudes more tanky by taking away your rend. So, but you probably won't see that one played. But one of the only ones that you have to worry about playing around is the there's one that gives, called Rapid Redeployment. It gives gun haulers, which are the smallest boats. They can transport 2 units of 6 instead of 1 unit of 5. So it makes them quite a bit better for moving stuff around. Generally, they're not the ones that moves lots of stuff around, but they can pull things out of combat. So if your opponent is playing Rapid Redeployment and they have multiple boats, they can pull these things out of combat. So it's a little bit worrisome. Enhancements. So they have one called Shrewd Opportunist. It's 2 non-hero infantry get a deployment phase move. So if you are planning on alpha striking with like a Kragnos, like Squig or a Kragnos Wolfgit army, they can just deployment phase move out in front of you. So if that's your plan, is to be really aggressive, they're going to be able to move a screen out in front. So you have to be careful of that. And you might want to deploy a little bit differently. For artifacts of power, they have a auto unbind. So if you're going to cast some important thing like your scuttle or your arachne cauldron, for example, and you want to keep it safe, just do it outside, or your probably your like fangs or your malevolent moon. You want to probably deploy your wizard outside of 30 so that you can cast it and get it off without it being auto unbound. They have a burst grenade, which turns off wards, so you have to be very careful of rock guts. Turning off wards to rock guts or Trug or Kragnos is bad and will result in these things dying a lot more quickly than you expect them to, so just be aware of this. They also have this flak gun, this Blazebeard and Sun Bamboozling flak gun. This thing's very strong. Like I said, it's an artifact power. So as a reaction to your charge, they get to roll a d6, and if it's equal or greater than one of your charge dice, they get to remove that charge dice. So if you roll 10 with 2 5s and they roll a 6, they get to just remove one of the 5s. This is kind of what I was saying about charging, that if you're not going to be really close, then you probably shouldn't charge, because if they're just going to remove a charge die, it's going to be bad. This is an artifact, right? So it is within 12 and it is only on one place on the map. So you just need to be careful when you're going into this artifact to make sure that you either bring lots of units or get outside of 3. Even a 3-inch charge, a normal 3-inch charge has a 97% chance of success, but with this bamboozling flat gun, it goes down to a 71% chance. Right? And they also have a way of giving -1 to charge, so it goes down to a 61% chance of successfully doing a 3-inch charge. So it's kind of scary. More enhancements. They have great engine works, which are enhancements for Skyvessels. You get to pick them. There's one that you get to pick in deployment. There's a Skyvessel that gets a great engine work in deployment. So you get to pick one of these for in list construction, and you get to pick one in deployment. So people are going to pick them that really counter you. So there's one that's a 5-up ward against shooting, not a big deal for Gitz. They also have one that is +2 to move. That's probably the one that we'll see taken in list construction most often. They also have one that ignores -1 to hit for shooting. So Gitz does have some ways of giving -1 to hit, but it ignores the -1 to hit from guarded hero. Why is this all out of whack here? That's okay. Some Surgic Iran enhancements. They have an artifact of power that just gives a 5-up ward and +1 attacks to a hero. The ships aren't heroes, so this is going to be on foot heroes, but they do have some pretty scary foot heroes. There's also something somewhere that lets them fight twice, so they can make a hero pretty fighty. So some of these foot heroes are fightier than you would expect them to be. They also have Emberstone Flare, which is another teleport. You pick a unit with fly, so either Skyvessel or lots of the units have fly, and you get to teleport it within 9 of the hero and outside of 9 of enemy units. So they can like take one of their boats, fill it up with dudes, and then teleport it this way too. So like they can like deploy all on one side of the map with a ship with a Skyvessel in reserve, and then they can use this to move the ship to a whole other part of the table, deep strike another ship in beside it, and all of a sudden they went from 80% of their army on one side of the table to 80% of their army on the other side of the table. So watch out for those screens. They have enhancements for Scourging Iran that are called Skyvessel upgrades. You just get to give it to one of the Skyvessels. So there's 3 of them. 2 of them are pretty good. Once per turn, it's a 4-up spell ignore, and it deals mortals back to the caster. So we're not really casting a lot of spells on our opponent, so it's not a big deal. There's also an ejector pod, which is you take a foot hero and you like teleport it a little bit further away from a Skyvessel. Very flavorful. The one that you'll see most that you can't really play around is just like, it's like a beefed up charge impact mortals. So this is probably the one you're going to see most often, and it's the one you're probably going to see on the frigate. Speaking of frigate, so all the Skyvessels have 2-up saves. They get to take a lot of enhancements. They move over things and drop bombs. So even if you connect with them, like with a charge, they're probably going to retreat and like drop bombs on you as they move away from you. If you charge them on a 2-up, they'll deal D6 mortal wounds for the frigate and the big one, the ironclad, and the small one, it's a 2-up D3. So trying to get on top of these things can be difficult because they're going to retreat away from you and deal mortals. When you charge them, they deal mortals. They have a 2-up save, which means you need mortal wounds, which means, you know, you're going to look for things like Squig Herd to get into them. But if you're not dealing mortal wounds, it's going to be really tricky unless you have a lot of rend, which Gitz don't really, right? Like some of the trolls have pretty good rend. But yeah, so 2-up save with all the defense. Good luck, have fun. They also have heroes and faction train that heal them and give them other kind of minor buffs and shenanigans. So they're quite beefy. Like their war scrolls alone don't give you a good sense about what the Skyvessels are going to be because they have a lot of other things going on. Oops. Oh, where's my other slide? Oh, this is out of order. Skyvessels, the Ironclad is the biggest and the best at shooting and can carry the most stuff. That's kind of its niche. The frigate has a charge ability that like it charges in and then dumps its the 2 units that it's carrying into combat with you, and those 2 units get first strike. This is probably the biggest, scariest thing that this army can do. It's not limited to once per turn army, so multiple frigates can do this all at once. And there's a foot hero, Brock, that can give up to 3 of them run in charge. And there's another hero that lets the reroll charges. So it's actually kind of scary. And it has incredible counter strike potential too with counter charge. If the frigate didn't charge this turn, but you move up to it and you don't charge into it, it'll counter charge, dump its guys, and strike first you. It's very, very scary. So if there's a frigate on the table, it's probably your number 1 target to try to kill. So if you have mortal wounds in your list, you want to send it into that frigate if you can. The gun haulers are the smallest boats. They can transport units out of combat. The Skridgig also has a gun hauler. It's more mobile and it can like run and shoot and stuff. And you can have you can reinforce them if I'm remembering correctly, but they can't transport. So they're more like gunships. They're not like transporting units. They're just like flying around and shooting stuff. So foot hero Brock Grungson. Once per battle in your movement phase, there's 3 Skyvessels you can give wholly within 24 inches that can run, shoot, and charge. This is where your frigates are going to come in. Very scary. The hero himself is very fast with a 12-inch fly move and very durable with a 3-up save. He also buffs like his other like infantry pieces, and he's pretty fighty all by himself. So he's overall very scary. If he's on the table, he's going to be one of your top targets. Another foot hero, Aether Chemist, gives -1 to charge within 9 inches. We talked about this a little bit when we talked about the flat gun. So keep that in mind too. If this guy has the artifact of power, right, like the flat gun, he's going to be like the anti-charge hero. He's going to just stand there and be like, you're going to have a really hard time charging into me. So he's kind of a way that you can defend like some of your boats and stuff, right? So pretty scary. The Harpoon crew, these guys have a 2d6 move in combat. They fly, they're anti-monster. So not only are they going to be good at coming into trying to kill, you know, some of your monsters, but they're also, because of their mobility, able to like jump over screens and get into like your casters and stuff in the back line. So be careful. Etheric Navigator, the Skyvessel or Auto Entrance. Auto Entrance are kind of like Chaos Manifestations. Can teleport them, right? He just kind of teleports them. And he can teleport with the unit if it's a Skyvessel. So again, just more teleport shenanigans. Grunstock Thunderers, these things turn off wards. These things are going to be the bane of existence of your rock guts. Right? They deal damage and then they get to roll a d6 and add the damage they dealt to the d6. So if these things are shooting at your rockets, limiting the amount of damage that they deal is going to be really important, like you with an all-out attack, right? Or like any kind of debuff that you can possibly give out, because if they can only deal like 1 or 2 damage and they fail this roll, then they don't remove the ward, right? So it's the damage they dealt plus a d6, and they have to be greater than the control characteristic. So I mean, rock guts are in big trouble. They also make the unit control 1. Sky Wardens, these guys are known as Balloon Boys. I think there's another unit known as Balloon Boys as well. At the end of any turn, they can sort of retreat and deal 2-up D3 mortals to the enemy they retreated from, and they fly. So they're really fast. So these guys are also coming for your backline. But if you catch them, right? If you catch them, they'll just kind of die, right? Let me actually just double check. I don't think that they're super survivable. Let's see. These guys are Sky Wardens. Yep. Yeah, I mean, 2 health on a 3-up save. So if there's 6 of them, it's only 12 health on a 3-up save, which is like good, right? If there's 3 of them, it's only 6 health. So, but for 6 of them only having 12, right? Like, it's not a ton of health. So if you catch them, you can kind of whittle them down pretty good. Zontari Endrindok. This is their faction terrain. It heals boats, and it produces these auto endrins. You can think of auto entrants like manifestations, but they're not manifestations. They're war machines, but a lot of their rules function as if they were manifestations. They have a fast 12-inch move. One of them banishes manifestations, and after they do their thing, they're destroyed, and then the dock can remake new ones on a roll. Another one removes control. It has to roll less than or equal to health. So the higher the health, the more likely it is to take 10 control away. So it's going to automatically take it away from like Kragnos and Trug and like some of the monsters. But even against some of the other, like even Rock Guts, right? Like minus 10 control from Rock Guts is a lot. And the third one is just like a 2-up D3 Mortal Bomb in a little AoE. So that's KO. So really, if there's 2 things that you're really trying to look out for, one is that Frigate, like Alpha Strike dump into unit thing. You really just have to make sure that you're screening. Right? It can be like 18 inches plus a rerollable charge. So put some units out in front that you don't mind losing. Herd are good, right? Because then they just sort of die and, you know, blow up, right? So you just have to be really careful how you deploy. Yep. And then you have to be really careful when you're charging KO to make sure that you're not charging into like the Blunderbuss artifact, because that'll really ruin your day. If you fail like a 5-inch charge because you rolled a 4 and they removed a die, it's going to feel bad, right? It's going to feel bad. So you have to be very careful about the frigate charging you and you charging the Blunderbuss artifact of power. Those are the 2 big takeaways. Anyway, let me know what you think of this series. I'm kind of thinking I might rework it a little bit for the next book. The whole point is I'm trying to make it good to you. So like, do you like the format? Do you like me going through the whole book, or should I break it down more into categories? Like, how would you prefer the format? I don't go into great detail on like what units are really, really strong. Because like those things change over time. War Scrolls get reworked, points go up and down. So what you're going to see on the table is going to change. But should I talk about those things? Like, should I have a section on those things? Give me some feedback. I'd love it. I appreciate it. I do these videos for me so that I can learn the armies, but I also do them for you so that you can, you know, be a better Gitz player. So let me know in the comments below. Join the Discord. I got a great group of people in the Discord. Always happy to answer your questions. But if you do none of those things, then at least like, subscribe. Wow.